Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley and I am a knitter. Sometimes I dabble in design as well, and I'm based in or on Vancouver Island in Canada. And before we get into the knitting talk, I just wanted to mention I have recently just reached over 1,000 subscribers here on my YouTube channel, which is very exciting. So I wanted to host a little giveaway to express my thanks for sticking along with me and hanging out with me whenever I chat about my making projects. So I'm going to gift one of my patterns and then some yarn. So if you choose a sock pattern, then it would be sock yarn. If you choose the summer camp kerchief, then it would be a skein of the Knitting for Olive pure silk. So it's whatever you would like. So just in the comments below, let me know what pattern of mine you'd be interested in making, and then I will choose a random winner throughout the list and I'll get in touch with you. Thanks. So today I thought I'd come to you just with a couple projects that I wanted to talk about. I have one finished object and one work in progress, so it'll probably just be a short episode, but I wanted to chat a little bit with you about it. And my apologies if I sound a little bit raspy. I've just been getting over a summer cold and it likes to hang on, so we'll just do our best. And I'm drinking some traditional medicinals. What was the flavor? Oh yeah, it's the throat coat, but lemon echinacea. So we're getting real healthy here. So I guess I'll start quickly with what I'm wearing. This is the Moonset tee by Ozetta. I made this last year using repurposed yarn. I actually saw a sweater in the thrift store, and the fabric type was like, I think it was 65 linen and 35 cotton. So very similar actually to Sandnesgar and Tinlina. And so I ripped that thing apart, which took way longer than I thought it would. But yeah, I salvaged all that yarn and then I reknit it up into a Moonset tee. I really love the drape of it. I actually want to make another one of these. It's just super wearable. It's very comfortable, and it has really nice little details like the crisscross at the front V here, and then just a nice line. Not sure if you can see the shoulder lines there, but yeah, it's just got some nice little details. Also, you might notice, got bangs. I've been thinking about them for a while, and then I was watching Becky from A Hand Knit Letter, and she had some adorable little bangs, which she said she didn't like, but Becky, they look adorable on you. I think that you need to keep them. But that was all the push that I needed, so yeah, I got some wispy little weird bangs that they're in training. Got to teach them where to go. But yeah, let's get started with our knitting top. So my FO, or my finished object, is the Tolsta Tank that I've been working on for the last, I'd say, month and a half or so when the test knit call came out. And she is done. I've gotten to wear her a couple times, and I'm very pleased. So this is a tank top pattern by Rebecca Clow, who is the Crayabea on Instagram. And she is just a pattern designing, writing whiz. She's amazing. So this pattern, she actually started, or yes, made a couple samples for last summer, but it was end of the season, and so she waited until this summer to release them. And it is a beast of a pattern. It's got everything. So there's 3 different versions of the tanks. There's a square neck, which I made. There is a vest version, which is just a crew neck, and then there's a camisole version, which is V-neck, front and back. And then it comes in, or it's written for DK weight as well as 4-ply or fingering weight. So there's so many versions that you could make from this pattern. It's written basically just as like a base, and then you can go from there with whatever modifications that you want. If you want to add stripes or eyelets or texture or mix and match the fronts and backs. I think that there's some versions where there's the camisole front, so the V-neck front, and then the vest back, the crew neck back. So the pattern is awesome. I already have plans for some other tanks that I want to make this summer. Probably the next one that I make will be a DK weight just because it's a quicker knit and summer is fleeting. But I really do like the drape of this 4-ply or fingering weight. So I use Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colors. This green is Dusty Artichoke, and then the blue is Dove Blue. And all of my modifications and pattern notes are on Ravelry if you want to read detailed instructions. But basically, it's knit from the bottom up. I decided to start with a provisional cast on because I just wasn't sure what bottom hem detail or hem construction I wanted to use, if it was going to be ribbing or scalloped or whatever. And I also wasn't sure about the length. So I did the provisional cast on, knit up, did everything on the tops. The necklines, I decided to do a folded neckline, which is kind of nice because I was able to hide the edge of this tag in there and sew it in. And then I did a double knit strap there, which doesn't have too much stretch, so I don't think that the tank is going to kind of like start sagging and drooping with wear. And then because these were folded hems at the neckline, I decided to go back, pick out that provisional cast on, and do a folded hem at the bottom. My stripes are just one row of knitting, and I've spaced them out to be about 1.5 inches apart. So it was, for my gauge, it worked out to be every 12th row was a stripe there. And it's interesting. I was listening to Lily Kate's podcast. She was talking about placement of stripes in a garment, and just the way that the eye works, it's better to actually have more blank space on the bottom than on the top. So I actually spaced these out equally, where we're kind of in a half stripe, or like a half, I don't know how many rows that was. Maybe it was 6. So not quite half the width of that green there. But anyways, that's where I ended up with my stripe for the neckline and had to finish there. And so then I decided to do the exact same on the bottom. But technically, I could have ended, like, let's see what that looks like here. If I fold this up, it's hard to visualize. But anyways, if I had ended just with like more green on the bottom there, it would have looked fine according to Lily Kate. The eye is drawn upwards, and so it's okay if there's like more blank space on the bottom. So that's kind of interesting. I might try that out with another stripy project in the future and see how that looks. But yeah, I'm super happy with the fit of this tank, and the fabric of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk is gorgeous. I'm such a fan of it. I've made a couple things in the past, like my summer camp kerchiefs were all out of pure silk, and it's just such a nice, light, breathable fabric. It's really nice to knit up with. It's not splitty at all. It's slightly, I don't even know if slub is the right word. It's not super slubby, but like there is just some kind of like variation in the yarn. So I feel like it wears nicely because there already is kind of like some bumps in there a little bit. I've never had any pilling with it, and with the summer camp kerchief, I've worn that a ton, and it looks exactly the same as the day I knit it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the pure silk, and it's just super comfortable for summer wearing. So that's my FO. Now let's go on to whips. I have one whip. Um, I've had this idea for a while now, and then I procrastinated on it and decided to just cast it on about 2 weeks ago. Actually, 2 weeks ago exactly is when I started on it. So, in the past, I've talked about this dream that I had to make a red dress with this beautiful red linen, which I have since made. I've talked about it, the Syd Tie Dress, and it's just this gorgeous bright coral red. And I had matching yarn from Crafty Knot & Co. In like the same color. So it's called Atlas. Let me show you here. So this is my gauge swatch. Yeah, the colorway is called Atlas, and this base is Silky Sport. So it is 50% merino, 50% silk. And oh my goodness, this is the softest thing I have ever knit on and possibly touched. And I've knit like with Cardiff cashmere. But yeah, no, this is just so incredibly soft. It's been a delight to work with. So I had this vision in my mind of a red vest to wear over my red dress. And I have an upcoming event this weekend. So I wanted the vest to be ready, or the whole outfit to be ready to wear. I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, I did my gauge swatch, started it 2 weeks ago. From my gauge swatch, I was able to kind of figure out the numbers that I wanted. I decided to kind of freestyle this vest because I had a vision in mind. I wanted it to be crew neck with the front and back panels open, possibly with the option to connect them, down further down with like a button or a bow or something. But I wanted that kind of like open, breezy feel for the vest. So designing takes time and a lot of trial and error. So the first week was just a lot of like knitting and ripping out and knitting and ripping out as I kind of figured out the neck shaping, and then the armhole shaping. It's different shaping in the on the back armhole than the front armhole, just because like your body's shaped differently, so the curves are a little bit different. And then from there, it was pretty smooth sailing just to start knitting that front panel. So I'll show you how far I've gotten. Here she is. Let's see, there's a lot of cords and cord keepers and everything going on. But this is it. It's knit in half fisherman's rib. This is the front panel that's going to be flowy and open, and then there'll be a back panel that's I'm picturing a couple inches longer. I'm really, really happy with the shape. I did a little bit of shoulder shaping here too, so it's not totally square. It kind of angles with your shoulders. And the fabric is absolutely beautiful and drapey. Super happy with it. And I was pretty close to being on track to finish this for this weekend. But I was watching my yarn and it kept going down and down and down, and I was getting a little nervous if I was going to have enough, because half fisherman's rib does kind of guzzle yarn. You're knitting into the stitch beneath for one row, and yeah, it just makes like a really plump, squishy fabric, but it uses a bit more yarn. So this is where I'm at, and I'll show you how much yarn I have left. This is what I have attached to the front, just a little ball here. I'll probably use the rest of this for the front panel and the hem. And then I have this much of a ball left, as well as my gauge swatch, which I can undo and use. But it really isn't enough. It's not going to be enough. And I was so disappointed. I had this vision in mind. It was going to happen, and it slipped through my fingers. But I will finish this eventually. It's just not going to be for this weekend. So I was trying to think about what to do, and I I really wanted that like monochromatic all red look, so I didn't want to do any like color blocking or changing or anything like that. Um, it is going to be a cropped vest as it is, so I can't really like save yarn by going even shorter. So I decided to get a hold of Sarah from Craft Me Not & Co., who is a wonderful human being. And she said that she could dye me up another skein of this. Obviously, with hand-dyed yarn, it can vary. It can be tricky to have it look exactly the same. So my thought was for the back panel, I'm going to save this yarn, and when I get the new skein in, I'm going to blend the two. So knit a row with the old yarn, knit a row with the new yarn, and kind of like blend it in. So hopefully that the contrast of the old skeins with the new skein isn't so stark and just like a harsh line there. Hopefully it'll kind of blend in. Also, it's the back panel. Who looks at the back, right? So I'll have that coming in. I will finish this, but it's just not going to be ready for this weekend. Wah, wah. So I'm going to put up a video of the dream, the vision, the outfit that could have been, but shan't for this weekend. I will finish it later on, but yeah, it's not happening for this weekend. I'll tell you a little bit about the pattern, the knitting experience. I've really enjoyed working on this. I love half fisherman's rib. You get the squish and the bounce of brioche, but it takes less time. And yeah, it's just very, you get into a rhythm. It's a nice, nice knit. Yeah, so with half fisherman's rib, basically on the right side, you are knitting in through the bottom loop and then purling one. Knit through the bottom, purl one. So it's kind of like ribbing, but then on the wrong side, all you're doing is just knitting straight across. So there's actually minimal purling. Yeah, you get into a really good rhythm, and yeah, it's really enjoyable to knit. The design of this vest is mostly flat. You start on the back, which is flat, then you join or pick up stitches and start on the front, which is flat. There's the tiniest little bit of knitting in the round right under the armhole, but then you're knitting flat again for the front panel and then the back panel. So yeah, it's all that flat, which is every wrong side row is just straight knitting. So I really enjoyed that. Um, some people have asked if I'll be writing up the pattern, and I have thought about it. I'll be honest with you. Garment design intimidates me, but it is a goal of mine. I do want to get there. So I have written out all the instructions as I've been making my own piece here. So it could be a possibility if I'm brave enough to write this up as a pattern and grade it for the rest of you. I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of study and reading to kind of, yeah, build up my confidence for garment grading. So we'll see how that goes. So that's all I have to talk about knitting wise. I'll just mention a book that I've been reading lately that I really enjoyed, and then I'll let you be on your merry way. So this book is The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating. I love books that are an enjoyable read, but that I can learn something from at the same time, and this book was that. So it is a personal kind of like memoir of from the author of a time when she was bedridden. She was quite sick, and a friend brought in a tiny little snail that lived, I think it was under her violet plant next to her bed there. And it was just a really interesting perspective of this person who was quite immobile at the time and found so much interest in just studying a slow-paced snail living its life right next to her. So she kind of goes back and forth between her own life and then her studies and learnings about snails. So there's some nice little like scientific facts in there, but it's also kind of tied in with her own personal experience. So I really enjoyed it. It's a short book, but I found it really, really interesting and uplifting also. I also like that all of the chapters have a quote from older literature about snails. So she has quotes from like the 1700s about snails, and they're really interesting. This one was one of my favorites. I'll just read it to you quickly. So this is a quote from Edward O. Wilson, 1984. So not that old, but it says, "Humanity is exalted not because we are so far above other living creatures, but because knowing them well elevates the very concept of life," which I really liked. I love digging deep into the natural world, yeah, and learning more about the design behind these things. So yeah, this book I would highly recommend. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope that you all are having a lovely day. I hope that you're enjoying some warm weather if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Summer is taking its very sweet time in coming to us on Vancouver Island. It's been a very, very cool spring. But yeah, we're hoping that summer is going to arrive at some point. In personal news, my husband and I just bought a little sailboat. We don't sail. We've never owned a boat before, but this is a journey that we're going to go on, and we're so excited about it. So it's just a small little sailboat with a tiny little kind of cabin that you can go down into. So we're going to use it basically as like our camping for this summer. We'll sleep on it and cook on it, and we're going to learn how to navigate her as well. So that's our summer plans. Some of the cushions were reupholstered, but some of them still need to. So for a sewing project, I've got some outdoor fabric material that I'm going to recover some cushions and make like some curtains and things with. So I'm excited about that. All right. Well, I hope that all of you have a wonderful day wherever you are. I hope that you're able to take some time away to enjoy some peace and quiet, maybe read or make a little, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.